Hey, yeah. So let's dive into the topic that's been making waves recently, especially if you're an Indian student or thinking about studying in the UK. It's been a favourite destination for a long time, right? Great education, international exposure, and an incredible cultural experience, okay? But there's a new twist coming your way that you'll definitely want to know about. On September 10th, 2024, the UK government announced a significant change. Starting January 2025, the minimum maintenance funds, basically the amount of money you need to show in your bank account to get a student visa, are going up. Hey mem. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Why is this happening? Well, the increase is meant to keep up with inflation and the rising cost of living in the UK. But I get it. This is a big deal for students, especially for those from India, which is one of the largest groups of international students in the UK. What's changing in the UK's maintenance fund requirement? If you're applying for a student visa, you've always needed to show that you have enough funds to cover your living expenses while you're studying there, right? So for 28 days before you apply for your visa, this money has to sit in your bank account. How much money you need to show depends on where you're studying, if it's in London or outside. Now, currently, students who are studying outside London need to show they have at least PS 1,023 per month for living expenses. And if you're in London, it's PS 1,334 per month. This is already a significant amount when you add it to the tuition fees, which you know can be pretty high. But from January 2025, it's going to get even higher. Students living in London will need to show PS 1,483 per month for living expenses, which is an increase of about 11.2%. If you're studying outside of London, the requirement goes up to PS 1,136 per month, an 11.1% increase. These changes reflect inflation, and living costs are rising everywhere, not just in the UK. Okay, so now that we've got that sorted, let's talk about what this means for Indian students. Indian students have always been super motivated when it comes to studying abroad, right? The UK has been one of their top choices for years. But with these changes, how is this going to affect them? Well, here's the thing: Indian students already spend a lot when they study abroad, typically over Rs 20 lakh, which is around PS 20,000 a year on tuition, living expenses, and accommodation. Yeah, that's a lot of money. But even with these new requirements, the impact may not be as bad as it seems at first. Let's break it down with an example. Say a student wants to study in London and their tuition fees are PS 20,000. Under the new rules, they would need to show that they have PS 1,483 per month for 9 months. So that's PS 13,347 for living expenses. Adding that to the tuition, they'd need to have PS 33,347 in their bank account before applying for a visa. Outside of London, it's a bit less. If the tuition is the same, the student would need to show PS 10,224 for living expenses, bringing the total to PS 30,224. Yeah, okay, this seems like a lot, but the process itself hasn't changed. You still need to have the money in your bank account for at least 28 days before you apply for your visa. And if you've received a scholarship or already paid some of your tuition, the amount you need to show can be reduced. But families will need to plan for these bigger numbers in advance. Will all Indian students be affected? Hey mim, right? Not everyone will feel the same impact from this. For students from wealthier backgrounds, the increase might just be a minor inconvenience. But for those from more modest financial backgrounds, this could add extra pressure. Even though the increase is relatively small compared to the overall cost of studying abroad, it can still stretch the budget for families who are already pushing their finances to cover the costs of studying overseas. I see. It's important to remember, though, that Indian students don't just look at the price tag when choosing a country or university. They also consider things like the reputation of the institution, job prospects after graduation, and the fact that the UK has a pretty high visa acceptance rate. For most students, these factors might outweigh the increased financial requirements. Yeah, makes sense, right? But for some students, especially those who are already on a tight budget, this change might mean they need to look for other ways to cover the extra costs. This could be through student loans, financial aid, or scholarships. So if you're planning to study in the UK, or you know someone who is, it's a good idea to start preparing early and exploring all the options available to you. How to navigate the new financial requirements. Okay, so now that we know what's happening, what can Indian students do to cope with these changes? Here are a few tips. 1. Plan early. If you're thinking about studying in the UK in 2025 or later, you should start planning your finances as early as possible. Make sure you have the required amount in your bank account well before the 28-day window. This can help avoid any last-minute stress. 2. Look for scholarships. Indian students have access to a lot of scholarship options, both from the UK universities and from Indian government programs. Getting a scholarship can reduce the amount of money you need to show in your bank account, which can help a lot. 3. Consider part-time work. Many international students in the UK are allowed to work part-time while studying. This can help cover some of your living expenses and reduce the financial burden. 4. Get professional advice. Don't hesitate to reach out to educational consultants, financial advisors, or university counselors. They can give you the most accurate and up-to-date information to help you plan effectively. The way forward. Yeah, okay, I get it. This increase in maintenance funds might seem like another hurdle to studying in the UK. But it's also a reflection of the rising cost of living there, and it's something that's happening in many countries around the world. For most Indian students, this isn't likely to be a deal breaker. With some good financial planning, the new requirements should be manageable. The UK continues to be a top destination for students from India, offering world-class education and great post-study opportunities. Sure, this financial adjustment might be tough, but for many it'll be seen as just another part of the cost of getting a degree from one of the best educational systems in the world. So, yeah, if you're planning to study in the UK or know someone who is, now's the time to start preparing. Get your finances in order, explore scholarships, and look for ways to make it work. The opportunities in the UK are still worth it for so many students, and with a bit of planning, you'll be able to navigate this new financial landscape.
Thanks for watching our video. Please hit the bell icon and subscribe the channel. Thank you.